Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of Veritas, the podcast with the most awesomeness, I guess. I am Youngblood Fantasy 91, and we also
I'm FlippehCat.
Yes.
Hi.
Say hello to our awesome public. Now, this is going to be a podcast consisting of multiple epic topics that we have arranged previously, and, it's just going to be us just talking about cool stuff, wherever the conversation leads us. We'll be there, so.
Yeah, I think you made it seem like there's a lot more structure to this podcast than there actually is. We just kind of are going to talk for like an hour.
Well, yeah, but we don't want the audience to know that we're being nice here, but whatever.
Yeah, they'll figure it out really quickly.
I guess.
Should we talk a bit about how fucking difficult it was to come up with a name?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Holy shit.
Okay, so, I use a lot of anagrams to find names. Like a lot of alternative accounts I use, are just anagrams of names that I use, as my primary. And so I was making anagrams of, like, both of our names, both of our characters, all this stuff. We initially settled on Bimbo Shake.
Oh, yeah.
And we thought that was pretty fucking funny.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that if you Google that, you get some pretty odd results.
Especially the shape search off.
Yeah. So then we're like, nix that idea. We got to come up with something better. And we had almost, like, we couldn't come up with anything. So we started looking in other languages. Just things like, commentators or, reviewers, enlightened, learned, all sorts of stuff like that. And we tried to find some, but the thing is with other languages, other people have thought of that in their own language and created accounts already. And so we came up with a shit ton of Latin words, some Greek words. What were some of them?
Hold on.
Literati was one.
Literati was a major one. We also thought of luceat, verbum, progressum,
Ostomer.
Cogitationis.
We were thinking of Zulu words, mainly because I was thinking of Ubuntu, and I was like, that sounds awesome. And still nothing. So pretty much we eventually came up with Veritas, which means truth, I guess. Truth seekers grounded in honesty.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, and we looked that up on YouTube, like youtube.com/user Veritas, and it's like, this account's been closed. And I was like, thank Jesus. So I make a Gmail account called Veritas Podcast, and I go on YouTube, and it says, choose your username, and I go, Veritas, and it's like, it's already taken. And we're like, what the fuck? And so apparently if you close your account, you're good. No one could possibly steal that. So we have to choose our name and say it's Veritas Podcast, but we're not going to call ourselves Veritas Podcast. We're just going to call ourselves Veritas.
Yeah, that's the long and short of it, but I mean, it has a nice ring to it. It's flowy, it means truth, and we were thinking...
shouldn't fucking forget it.
Yeah, don't fucking forget it, because we went through a bunch of languages for you guys to think of a cool name, so you
took us like a week.
It took us forever, man.
So I'm gonna start off with my topic. I decided I'm just gonna write a couple things just so the podcast can flow better, but it's not. It's just like things that I thought were kind of funny.
Yeah.
So I came up with a perfect murder and the perfect murder weapon, and I want you to see if you can guess it. I know you won't, but I just want to see what you come up with.
I would say use gloves in some weird shape or form.
Use gloves. Out of all the murders that have ever taken place, all the ones that got away just happened to use gloves.
Well, I'm just saying.
No, they could find, like, fibers and stuff off of your gloves.
Well, I don't know, because either you have to cover your hands with something that prevents, like, leaving fingerprints and fibers and stuff, and, like, the most I could either think of is, like, gloves, which is completely obvious, or, like, plastic or something, some form of plastic.
You are thinking so base. Your murder involves going up to someone and, like, bludgeoning them to death.
Hey, at least it's fucking bludgeoning, you know? It's not
No,
like...
that's bad. That's like a terrible murder. They can find out who did it.
Well, at least I'll have comfort
You
in
can come
knowing.
up with a good murder weapon, like...
Well, that's why I don't want to become a professional murderer when I grow up, okay?
Yeah, you shouldn't, because they'd find you within, like, an hour. They'd be...
Well, good. It's just a matter of ethics, too.
Wearing gloves.
It's more a matter of ethics, not a matter of, oh, okay. I never would do it premeditated. I'd be like, okay, one day I'll just break.
Indulge me with the best murder possible. The one you could never get away with. Or, sorry, the one you could get away with because it's so good.
I honestly have no idea. Enlighten me.
Come on. You have nothing better than gloves.
Well, I don't know. Like, the most I could think of is, like, something covering your hands, or something covering something.
You're thinking so base, though. Like, your murder doesn't have to involve beating someone to death.
What about, like, well, if you bring a gun to the scene, then they're gonna find that too, or someone will find the bullet, and then they'll trace it back to the gun, or, like, if you bring a knife.
You could get a gun off the black market, so it's not gonna be traceable back to you directly because of that, but also, you could get rid of a gun and, like, hide the evidence a lot easier than physically bludgeoning someone to death. So even if you said, I don't know, I'd shoot someone, it'd be better than, like, wear gloves.
Okay, fine. I don't know. Like, the most creative I could do is, like, make, like, a Rube Goldberg sort of thing, set up a trap beforehand.
But you would have so much DNA on it.
But it would be worth it to see him die like a comedic Rube Goldberg
so
death.
Terrible. It's a good thing you don't want to murder people because you don't want to get away with it at all.
I never want to murder people. That's why I have, like, an underdeveloped idea of murdering. Unless if I was, like, a sociopath and, like, thought of many ways to murder people, yeah, maybe. But as of this point,
I'm like,
the most I can think of is torture people mentally. That's the most I can do.
Okay, ready to hear my perfect murder?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so step 1, get NASA to start doing moon missions again. Now, I know that may seem like a hard thing to do for step 1, but trust me, it'll get good.
That sounds so far-fetched.
Don't worry. Because if my murder took place, like if I murdered someone with this method, if they found out it was me, which would be impossible, they'd just be like, at this point, he put in so much effort, it's fine, let him get away with it. So,
just stop,
So, first off, step 1, get NASA to start doing moon missions again. Step 2, get into NASA on a moon mission, right?
Mm-hmm.
Step 3, get the person you want to murder into, like, a concert or something like that, where they're seated for a long period of time.
Yeah, like a group or whatever, I guess.
Yeah, they have to be seated, like, still, though, so like an opera or something. Specifically an opera because it'd be cooler, so you have to get the person you want murdered into an opera, right?
Okay.
Step 4, lasso a giant asteroid on the moon. Okay, just like...
How would you do that, though?
Get a lasso, find an asteroid, lasso the asteroid,
how do you...
done. Don't worry about it. Step 5, using extreme calculations and supercomputers, calculate exactly how you would have to throw that asteroid so that it flies towards the Earth exactly where that person is seated. Step 6, do that. Step 7, go back to Earth. Step 8, or you don't have to, Step 7's optional, if the time frame allows.
Yeah,
you could plan it so that in the future when they're at an opera seating, that the meteor goes directly to them. But it would be a lot better if you could plan it so that, like, a year later, like, the asteroid is planned. So you have this long pre-plan. So I'm saying, like, a week would be good. So, like, you plan it so that in a week's time it's going to a specific seat in an opera theater, right? At a specific time.
Yeah.
Step 8, get the seat next to that because your calculations are so fucking good, and get the person you want to murder to sit next to you, right?
Yeah.
Step 9, as the opera's going on, it gets all to its low points. Then, right as it's about to, like, get to the final climactic point, the meteor goes through the atmosphere, burns to the size of a bullet, goes through the roof of the opera house, and impales a person in the head.
Oh my god. And you say my theories are so base, at least mine's more grounded in realistic ideas. Yours is just like, well, okay, let's plan for calculations.
How brilliant that would be. Like, they'd be like, oh my god, this person got killed, you know, wow, that's insane.
This person got killed by a meteor that turned exactly into a bullet and had exactly the same amount, the exact velocity to impale someone.
Exactly.
Jesus, tap dancing Christ. That's just, there's so many freaking stipulations in that, dude. You think it'd be something...
About it. The variables will calculate themselves out. It's destiny. This has to be done.
It sounds like something out of a very epic science fiction novel or something.
I know, but wouldn't it be awesome? Like, think about that. If they did manage to find the correlation that you're an astronaut and you planned this all out, right? Yeah. You know what they do? They'd be like, well, fuck, if he put in that much effort, fine.
Fine, just let him go, even though he's a fucking psychopath.
That bad, okay.
He's not that bad of a person if he thought of a fucking asteroid. Jesus.
Genius.
It's very premeditated. I will give you that. It's very elaborate, premeditated, and it's like something worth just discussing.
You couldn't possibly find any sort of evidence unless, like, they were recording you lassoing asteroids on the moon. But, like, really, who would do that?
I don't know. I mean, the most I could just say is, like, how NASA observes that stuff. So, I mean...
Don't worry about it. The point is, there would be no murder. Like, you couldn't possibly find any DNA evidence or anything. It's brilliant. Or, opposing, if you skip steps 1 through 3, you could just send something into space, make it rotate around the moon for so many times.
Oh my god.
And then goes back to Earth and kills them. Either way.
Well, what would you fling at the moon? Like, an icicle? Like, what the hell?
Something like with a really dense core so that when it exits and enters the atmosphere, it happens to be the size of a bullet. It's not that big of a calculation. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Point being, I could get away with something like that if I had the technology. And we have the technology.
We can build a new murder weapon. Stronger. More premeditated.
That, and I have another idea that would be a lot more plausible.
What?
Like a railgun with an ice bullet. Like,
oh, yeah. Ice is definitely a major thing.
Because it just melts.
Ice melts, and then it's like, oh, nothing. Oops. It's like, I got killed. By how? By water.
Yeah. And it's brilliant because a railgun wouldn't leave any sort of, like, residue. Or it would leave slight residue. But the point is, it's a railgun. Like, how many people have those?
Yeah, not many do.
I'm talking like a military-grade railgun. I'm talking about something now.
Well, I mean, you either have the $6 million murder or railgun with ice, with like frickin' ice cubes in there.
How dare you insult my murder by assuming it would be $6 million? You're looking at like trillions or like quintillions.
I'm just saying, expending that much freaking effort to murder that one person, it has to be a pretty fucking important person, or it has to piss you off to the extent that you just hate life.
The person that died in my murder would just be like, you know what? At that point, like, if I died that way, put that on my tombstone. I'd be like, someone wanted me dead so bad, he, like, went out to do all these steps to get me killed.
Like, someone had to have really destroyed your soul or, like, ruined your dreams or something, you know? Like, you would have to really get pissed off by him to just do all that stuff.
Smart.
It's smart, but I mean, it's ridiculously crazy.
Don't judge. Don't judge.
Okay. Maybe I won't judge. Maybe I won't.
Okay, what's your first agenda topic? See if you can beat that.
Well, my first topic was going to be talking about e-begging and how it's ridiculous. But that's too commonplace for this call, isn't it?
I disagree with that. Send your donations to Veritas Podcast at paypal.org.
Yeah, we need the money because apparently we can't find our own jobs and we just.
I need the money. I need a better mic. Have you heard this? Sounds like shit.
I need a better webcam because so that way I can just whore out my face and just become more awesome with my YouTube partner status.
Well, let's be honest, listeners. I don't think a webcam would be necessary for a podcast.
Nah, but I mean just.
See where you fail in e-begging is you ask for things that aren't relevant to what you're doing.
But, like, that's the thing with some e-beggars. They usually ask for irrelevant stuff, and then...
Like what?
Like, you know how the Amazing Atheist is all, I want a camera so I can do my road trip. And it's like, nope.
In all honesty, but, like, a lot of people are like, he's an e-beggar. You know, fuck that. If I needed a camera... right? Mm-hmm. And my viewers actively go out of their way to watch my content I produce, it would be of their interest to put in any sort of amount, like even if it's 50 cents, like if everybody that was a listener gave 50 cents, that person could have bought a better camera and given out better content for them to watch. And for 50 cents, that's a fine deal. I understand why people are like, he's getting thousands of dollars. Like, I get that. But you can limit how much you get. Just be like, thanks. I'm putting out better content. Like, I understand why people would, like, e-beg. Like, it makes sense. I don't understand how people can look at that and be like, he wants my money for giving me stuff? How fucking dare he? How can he have the gall?
I don't know. It's sort of like one of those things where it's like it's one of those things where it's like he's profiting off people. He was
asking for like a jacuzzi. He was asking for something to make better content.
But the problem with that was he didn't follow up and he didn't use the money for the purpose that he assigned. He used it to waste people's money, though. That's the problem. The issue here is if you garner money from other people, more often than not, they spend it over ridiculous crap they didn't want to spend it. It's like saying, I want to generate money to donate to a charity, and then you spend it on your iPod and your webcam and your electronics, and that's completely unethical and, disingenuous of you, because you said...
I get that, but that wouldn't make e-begging wrong. That'd make that person's actions wrong.
Right, but that gives e-begging a bad connotation as a result.
Yeah, but you say you're against e-begging. You're not against the action.
Well, I mean, I'm against it because I think you can get the money from other areas. Like, you really can't mooch off your fans. I mean, that's what I think of it as mooching. Well, I mean, if you want to, fine, but I think it's silly to mooch off the people that just follow you and you don't even see who they are. You get money from who God knows where, and it's like, what the hell? I don't deserve this. That's me, though. That's my ethics. If you don't want to...
But you're putting out stuff they want to see, and if you can put out better stuff, if they contribute, why not?
Well, why don't I just better myself and just, work harder so that way I feel I earned it rather than just have a surrogate tell me...
But you did earn it. Your content was good enough for people to want to give you compensation.
I don't think of it as in terms of just if you're a YouTube partner, I don't know if YouTube partners interpret their works in terms of legitimate work that they do. I think there's a difference between doing stuff online and doing stuff that is more hands-on with relatable to real life processes. I think there are two separate things altogether. The internet is more like your id, it's what it wants right away, self-gratification, boom, right there. Whereas in the real world, it's more like you have to work hard to get a reward, and then
But if you look at what people contribute to society in terms of jobs,
mm-hmm.
You can have someone who builds roads, right? Like something vitally necessary for our society to function. Or you could have someone that's an entertainer, right?
Okay.
He stars in movies and TV shows. Well, one of them can be globally productive, and one of them can be I don't want to say it depends on the road, but the other can be lot less than that productive. It's not saying one is more important because one is a necessity. The other is not, it's not necessary, but it's something people want. There is a demand for it. If people are putting out something that they see as important, or enjoyable for them, and the person making it says, if you can contribute to this, I can make it better. Why would that be a wrong thing?
I personally, because again, it's all about where the money comes from. I think that if you don't know where it comes from, I mean, you can say that you can make the argument, but for charities, there's anonymous people. Man, that's fine. But I feel that scalping people through the internet is just...
You're not scalping people.
Yes, you are. Ugh.
They're giving you fucking money.
But I don't want their damn money. That's the thing.
That's fine if you don't want it, but that doesn't mean the process is bad.
Well, I heard, and please correct me, I've heard that it's illegal though. You know, it's illegal to ask people money.
Asking for donations?
Well, through the internet. Well, I don't know, because, I've heard silly shit about that. I'm sure that's wrong, but I've heard something to that tune a couple years back, and I don't know if that can be transferred to what's going on here.
I would seriously doubt that donating to something is illegal.
Well, through the internet, I don't think so, but I don't know if where's the donation going? Is the donation going to you? Then you have to label yourself as an organization. I don't get that. That doesn't make any sense.
No.
I don't understand.
Not necessarily. If we took donations for this podcast and then spent the money on making the podcast better, I don't see anything wrong with that.
Well, see, that's the thing. If we did use it for constructive purposes, then yeah, I think that then that's fine. But I mean, more often than not, when people get money, they spend it for other extraneous things that is not relevant to what they're doing. And more often than not, that happens. And because this happens, I feel that it's not efficient. It doesn't work unless you are a legitimate organization or literally someone that you can trust that will handle your money. But then again, it's always a variable. It depends on who you know or who you trust that can just allocate the money.
See, I don't have a problem with if you had donations for stuff you produce, right? It'd give you more incentive to put out good stuff, right? My concern is, it can lead to wasteful spending of resources that aren't really for wasteful spending.
Mm-hmm.
I get that. However, it's the people that give the money have the intention that's going to be put towards bettering the product. However, they gave him the money, right? It's his at that point. He can do what he wants. I'm not saying that he's justified. I don't want to say he or she, but he's more of a global term.
Mm-hmm.
That's my, what's the word, misogynist speaking out. But point being is, if you're a fan and you give someone money and they don't use it properly, you know what you do? Stop watching that person. Stop doing anything with that person because he's a scumbag. That's how you should look at it. And if people did that, those people wouldn't exist. And quite frankly, they don't. But the people that say, hey, I need, what's something I could need for production?
I need new editing software.
Sure. I need editing software, and I cannot pirate it. So I need some donations, and I can make better content. And if people go, yeah, if you can make better content with that, here you go. Here's $5, right?
Mm-hmm.
That $5 can go into making all of his audience enjoy their content more. So I see nothing wrong with eBay.
I don't know. The term itself has a bad connotation. The
word
eBay.
Because if you said donating, it'd be completely different.
Because then you associate with charity and whatever.
Yeah, and you're being charitable to something you enjoy.
But there's always that factor of just someone being a dick and just mismanaging and not spending their money in the right way. And I would feel not violated. That's a silly word.
I would feel violated.
No, I would feel dirty. Just getting someone else's money because I would be afraid of how to spend it. unless if we knew for sure what to do. Like, if we knew, okay, we need this, we need that, then yeah. But if we don't know...
Same thing as, like, doing a fundraiser.
Like, it just... Like I said, I think it just all depends on what you want to use it for. Like, if you don't want to use it for anything substantive, then don't do anything. Then don't even ask in the first place. And again, too many people pull that crap. And that's ridiculous to me. I've seen this happen a lot. It's not like it happens to everyone, but it happens to too many people. And unfortunately, people are dumb enough to go through that and waste their money on someone who spends it on something else that isn't relevant to what they were doing. And more often than not, they feel their money's wasted.
My concern would be that as well. But there are a plethora of very talented, very able, but I shouldn't say very able, but very unable to produce because they do not have the money to produce. And that's where, needing to raise money comes from. And I don't like the idea of people like, oh, he's e-begging, he's begging for your money. Yeah, because he wants to give you content. So you shouldn't, I understand if someone is like, hey, just give me money, it gives me motivation. That's different if you're getting that money through something like advertisers, because that's what it's for.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're just saying, give me money, that's completely different than saying, we need money to keep this train moving.
When you put it that way, yeah, I just feel that it gives too many people the ability to do whatever they want with it, or their money, and it's like I said, unless you have a structured idea, like you really have an idea.
I understand why that exists, but at the same time, it's not like the people donating have any, question about where their money's going. The people that would bother to donate care enough about whatever they're donating to trust that it wouldn't be used, have good faith in it.
But some people are still gullible. Like, they would do it for anybody. And it's like, that really makes me...
Well, then they're destined to lose their money anyway. That doesn't mean the process is broken.
Maybe it's just people are broken, Maybe, I don't know. I feel like in this particular instance,
it's just people are fallible. And anyone's fallible in this case. And it's like, if you honestly can prove without a doubt that these people know what they're doing and that you know what you're doing, then in this sense, maybe it can work out. But since there are so many variables that you have to take into account, okay, then it becomes somewhat of a broken system, but not to the point where you have to toss it out. Because, as you said, there are very viable alternatives that you can say. You can say it's raising money for this. Like, the angry video game nerd? How he's raising money for his movie? I don't have a problem with that because it's for a movie, and you need money for a movie. And I find that, okay, that's a valid goal, that's a valid idea. However, if you're saying, I need money because I want to spend it on myself because I'm a self-ingratiating bastard, then you're a dick. That's what I have a problem with.
They won't get money.
But some people still give them money anyway, so it's like a broken system in that respect. If you have stupid people doing stupid crap, it engenders stupid. And that's what I hate. Then people say, oh, it's cool now to see that people are wasting money, and then more people get pissed off, but then more people still act stupid anyway. So it's like, you can't cure that stupid. And that's what I despise. Not the fact that e-begging doesn't work for everyone. What I despise is that too many people take advantage of it. That's what I hate. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean, but I still don't have a problem with e-begging. Generally, I don't see it as a bad thing.
Generally, I find it as, like I said, as long as you know your expectations, then you're all set then you're set, and you know what you're doing, and you know where the money's going, and you know where it's ending up there, and you can account for it, then fine. I personally wouldn't have a problem, but if you are completely haphazard and you don't know where it's going, you don't know what you're doing with it, and you're getting money anyway, then you're screwed, and then you'll probably make stupid decisions.
At that point, the money's going to be lost either way. So I still cannot see it from a bad term. I just don't. There's no way you could possibly persuade me that giving funds to someone who wants to produce content is
I guess to each his own ideas about the whole issue. I would rather err on the side of caution and say I get the money myself. That's all. That would be my first impulse for me personally.
Like, I'd feel bad if it was like kids that are like, oh, I want to donate because he's gonna acknowledge my existence, or if someone's poor and they give money that they could be giving to something else. Yeah, but if people, like, they're rich people and they enjoy your content, so why would you, like, continue to make worse content if they're willing and able to give you... Yeah, anyway, this point has been discussed both sides,
I guess,
to death. So, should I go on to my next topic?
Go right ahead.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about Lady Objection.
Really? In relation to what?
I still don't know how I feel about her.
Well, personally, I feel that she has she's abundance of energy. I rarely see this in commentators. She has so much energy. You know, she's very vibrant. Her points are hilarious. Not to mention her GIF animations that she uses, like the visuals that she uses, they're also hilarious. I feel that I have a fun time watching them. I watched her commentaries like today, yesterday, the day before, and I keep going back to them because there's like a vitality in them that I don't see in most commentators. And this vitality attracts me to them. That's me.
I would argue otherwise, and it's just let me first state that if you're listening to this Lady Objection, I have no doubt in my mind that you are a wonderful person and that you would be fun to be around. However, I can't watch them. First off, I think they're obnoxious.
What?
I do.
No.
And the reason I think they're obnoxious is because, and if this is going to sound weird, but I feel like if a guy did it, or like if I made the exact same video without Lady Objection being there, everybody would be like, this is stupid.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. No. But I'm saying, honestly, I feel like because she's a girl, so many people look at her content differently than they would if she was a guy.
So you're saying it's because of the gender sort of thing? Is that what you're saying?
I'm only saying that it's because of the gender because I think the commentary community is, like, so in need of love and affection by women. And that sounds so rude and mean, but, like, so many people in this fucking community will see a girl and they'll be like, she might want to date me. Like, no. Like, I fucking talked to so many people about it, and they're like, oh, no, she's so cool and nice. And I'm like, what if she was a guy? And he's like, well, she'd be cool, but she wouldn't be as cool. I'm like, what the fuck does that mean?
So, like, the tits are the difference between cool and very cool? Is that what you're trying to say?
Not even tits, just the fact that it's someone of opposite gender.
Well,
I don't want to, like, sexualize it. That's not what I'm going at.
Well, I don't make dichotomies between gender, although that's very, very obvious that certain people, like, really go for the girls because they do. Like,
because they're girls.
Because for instance, the classic Roshutsu and Meta effect. People go after chicks because they're chicks. Slap Happy Gamer, when she was a commentator, a bunch of people were like, oh my god, you're doing commentaries and you're a girl. But the thing about Lady Objection is that she has her own style, and that's what I prize in commentators. She doesn't...
Yeah, but I almost don't like that style because I don't want to fucking talk about Anonymous, but I was on 4chan up till B-Day, and then I left for 7chan, and then I stopped. Mm-hmm. If you know what that means, you'll understand why I don't like Lady Objection. It's an obnoxious, I don't want to say new fag, but that's almost what it is. It's an obnoxious, candy-ass new fag kind of thing. And those...
You mean like in terms of just being overreactive about everything and just going like random kawaii desu crap?
Yeah, it's like random XD. I don't like that. And some people, if they like that, that's perfectly fine. But I can't get behind it. Like, I watched her latest video, and I should have already had it up.
The one where the episode 4 where she talks about the Polar Star and Mr. Sonic Fan?
I'll find it.
Because I have it up right now.
I ain't no expert commentary number 4. Depolaristar and Mr. Sonic Fan.
And Mr. Sonic Fan 112. Yeah.
So at the beginning of that, she's talking like she's eloquent. She's saying things well. And this is just because I am the person I am. But she's very, like, straightforward and kind of how I'm talking now. And then all of a sudden, she starts acting like this. And I'm all like, what the fuck are you doing? You had it,
I can understand where you're coming from.
I can't take that. It's too, like... I feel like if you have a point that's worth making, that you don't need to, like, act silly for your point to become... Like, it adds nothing to your point.
Well, I can understand where you're coming from because, yeah, you're more of a straightforward logic person that just is honest and doesn't want to hide in, like, you know, an act, and I understand that. However, certain commentators do have an act, like M-Skull, for instance. He's overreactive sometimes. When he did his recent OSC, he was all like, "Look at them ponies," and he goes crazy for, like, those 2 seconds, and it's like, that was funny because he used it the right way. Now,
that's... I don't even find that, like...
I find that funny in a way. I mean, I guess it's just panders to my sort of humor because my humor is sometimes just like overreacting about everything. But I understand where you're coming from. I know. I was a Sonic fan way back when, and literally almost everyone just overreacted and just went, "Oh, random XD." And yeah, it does get old after a while. But I think her version of random XD is not random XD to the point where it annoys me, more like it's an endearing quality, and it's not because of gender roles, it's because it's her own perfected, distinct style that she has. And I know you're going to say that style's flawed, but I mean, to me, it's like, it seems. It's not because that she's a chick, it's because she's different from the grayness and conformity of the community that we've seen for far too long. This is why I like people like Mr. Alejandro, because he also has a violent energy about him.
Are you saying that, like, straightforward is, like, dull and boring?
No, straightforward can be used in the right way to make it...
But you're saying overall it is? Like...
No. Okay. It depends on your voice. If you want to be straightforward, and if you want to get to the point, and if you have, like when you do it, you have enough emotion in your voice to be straightforward, but at the same time emoting. When you're straightforward and you're just a deadpan and you're going like this, and then that's stupid. However, energy is helpful too. I don't know. It seems
because I would say that overacting is the problem. That as a kid, when I never was like a kid in the theater, but I liked to act and sing and shit, like, I shouldn't say that, but stuff like that. And I'd love to do that, but if you look at how little kids do things, they will overact, like, insanely. Mm-hmm. And the only time you overact, if you're acting and you really, really go overboard, is to like, show that you're bad, right?
I guess. I don't know.
Or you care too much. And that's the main concern I have, because it's like, I see it and I'm like, she could be fucking brilliant and so much better, but this really, like, I don't want to say obnoxious, but to me, like, almost obnoxious, kind of like, I'm gonna talk like this. And you're like, what the fuck are you doing? You had such,
I really understand where you're coming from. I promise you. I understand your position. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, it does get a bit draggy, but, like, it's what's endearing about her. Like, she has a style that she can utilize for further commentaries, and it's like, that style can be easily repeated by that person. You know, the reason why you're a good commentator, I'm a good commentator, and, like, Mr. Alejandro's a good commentator, or M-Skull's a good commentator, is because they can repeat their style over and over, and it never gets old. And I feel her type of random XD, no matter how obnoxious it is to you, I find it's easily replicable by her. And because of this, she can make a bunch of commentaries in that style that are easily loved by others, and at the same time, you know, gain this notoriety that you've gotten, that I've gotten, that other people have gotten, because it's an easily replicable style by the person who started in the first place. And it's not a matter of being overreactive as much as it's a matter of, like, being herself, in a way. And I know that, like, when it comes to random XD, though, there's always the sense of immaturity, and I don't think she's being entirely immature. when she does her style like that. Because, like...
But my question would be, like, how many adults do you know that act like that?
You know, it's a minority, but I do know several people who just go crazy sometimes.
I can't think of any successful ones.
Who just go... Well, I mean, the most I could think of is Patch Adams, but I don't think he goes insane that much.
But that's the whole point, and I understand it's supposed to be funny because it's like that, but to go from one to the other, like that, like in her latest commentary, she's all like, oh, let me just talk like that. What the fuck is this?
Yo, you know what?
You're just all of a sudden like, you really? Like,
if that was the only flaw in her commentary that I had, yeah, it's like an indecision between being this way and being the other way, and she just needs more time to flesh it out. Maybe she's just in her embryonic stage and she needs to just flesh it out a little more. Maybe, you know, it's always about pruning. So, I mean, at this particular point, I don't know if I can say anything conclusive, but based on this particular point, maybe if she has more time to mature, she'll probably rely less on the random XD stuff and move closer to the straightforward critical stuff that we all have perfected. But at this point, I think it's a little too early to tell if she's like going overboard or, you know, being overly successful in what she does. Now, to lay an objection, if you're watching this, let me just say that you're off to a good start. Just that, you know.
yeah, no, I like your shit.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to say that. I sound like such an ass. I don't like what you're putting out now. However, like, I get why it's popular, and I'm not saying you're popular because you're a girl. I'm saying that it's the that's kind of bothering me. But I do think you can be so more brilliant if you go with a more, like, straightforward route some of the time. And there's a time and a place for everything. But if you overact too often, it just kills, like, the structure of your commentary, because like, if I need to overact, and I'm not saying follow my example, do what you do. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. If you're listening to this and you're like, he's an asshole, go with that and fucking make it and do your thing and incorporate it with how you think and build upon yourself. And what I'm saying is, if I need to overact, whenever I emote, because I am the kind of odd person I am, and the, like, straightforwardness of me trying to be as brevetic as possible, if I overact, it's a lot more emotive. But if I overact all the time, there's a point to where you've reached a threshold and you can't overact to that. So if someone does something insane and you're already overacting, how can you go any more? How can you express the fact that you are even more upset now than you were before? You can't do it. And that's my main concern. And it starts to get monotonous and tedious really early for me. Some people may not feel that way, but to me, it just kills the commentate. Like, it kills the commentary. Sorry. I'm getting upset, but it kills the commentary because
Calm down.
It kills the commentary because I just can see that there's so much talent and you're right fucking there and you have people, you already are gaining an audience, but you're doing the same thing and doing the same thing over and over. Just like, you gotta find something to do that puts a spin on it. And if you overact too often, you're gonna be put in a position to where you're always gonna have to overact. And if you're always overacting, it's completely hard to change pace halfway started. Like, you can't just be like, oh, this commentary, I'm going to talk like this. And at that point, if you ever feel that way, you're already going to be trapped in what you've started. And I feel like you could do a lot more than just overact.
I mean, that's a very valid counterpoint. I just think that maybe she just needs to moderate it a little bit. That's the most I could say, because let's face it, I find something endearing about the whole overacting nonsense, but the most criticism I can give at this point is that just, maybe just tone it down just a little bit, itty bitty bit, and then just see what you can do with that. Because, I mean, like I said, I prize commentators who try to be different, who act differently than everyone else. And, like, that's why I love MaxiPad and you and other people that I've mentioned and, like, everyone, like, all the good commentators that I like, because they tend to be themselves. Even, like, that kid from camp, he made a video today. He said that commentators should be themselves. And that is the best advice I've heard, like, since ever regarding that. And what Lady Objection is doing is reflecting herself. However, if she is putting on a major act like this, then you know what? Yeah, tone it down just a little bit, you know? Because we do accuse other commentators of just getting legitimately angry at their victims or whoever they find, and that is kind of a turnoff. But I mean, at this point, I don't see too much of an issue with what she's doing. Like I said, the most I can say is just tone it down a little bit. But for the most part, she is doing a fine job commentating.
My advice for anybody wanting to commentate, including you, Lady Objection, if you ever hear this, my main thing is don't let anybody tell you what you like doing and how you do it is wrong. And if I gave off that impression, call me out. I don't feel like I gave off that impression. I feel like I was giving my opinions, and I'm not telling you do it differently. If you enjoy what you're doing and you like how you're doing it, don't let anybody tell you differently. That does not mean don't take criticism. If I'm acting foolish and I enjoy acting foolish and someone calls me foolish, there is a time to reflect and understand and perhaps change how you are, only if you feel that way. If you don't feel that way, don't let anybody tell you different. And the only reason for that is if you keep acting foolish, people are going to stop watching. And that it moderates itself. My main concern is that if people start to put on an act, it completely you can tell I can't even come up with the word, the phoniness. I don't like phony because of Catcher in the Rye, but
Holden Caulfield.
the insincerity. And I feel like your commentaries are insincere. Like, the emotions you're putting out aren't the emotions you initially feel. And even if they are the emotions you initially feel, they're not reflected on. They're not like, all right, I'm writing a commentary. How can I express how I'm feeling now? It's like, all right, just make a commentary. What do they want to hear? That's the feeling I'm getting off of it.
Right, exactly. I just feel like a better word would be antic disposition, as in, like, you've heard that in Hamlet.
Yeah, that'd be good.
The idea of the antic disposition, where you try to be like, put on a disguise to fool other people. And I don't think she's knowing she's putting on a disguise, and I don't think she's putting on like a massive disguise, but, you know, yeah, I think the most that she can do at this point is tone down a little bit. But then again, like I said, I don't think she's as flawed or as, I don't think she's flawed. I don't think she's doomed to obscurity. You know, like I said, when all commentators begin, they start from somewhere. And she's only 4 commentaries in. So, I mean, she just needs a little bit more perfection in what she does. As most newer ones have to do. In order if they want to be, like, top tier, I guess. I don't know. It's not much as a race for the prize as much as it's just, like, trying to maintain a personality and entertain. So, I mean, it's a little, like, for me, I feel that my criticism has to be a little sparse because we only have 4 to work on. But then again, it can't offer a wealth of information as you demonstrated. So, I mean, at this point, all I have to say is just what I said previously.
At this point, I'm going to stress that it is important to vocalize and explain how you feel about someone initially starting. I am still brand new to commentating, and I want people to give me as much and to analyze what I'm doing and to tell me that and to convey it in a very, honest and sincere way. And the reason for this is because if I'm doing something wrong, I want to know about it. And if you don't care to know what you're doing wrong, you can easily pass over whatever critiques you're getting. But if someone's starting out, it's good to change what you're doing and see what works with you. I don't know what works with me. I'm doing what I think is good, and a lot of people say it's good, so I'm going with that. But if all of a sudden I realize if I do something differently and it's better, I'd like to know that initially. And if people can convey that, like, you're doing this wrong, or, you know, you say certain things in such a ridiculously verbose way, it's not helping convey a message. I want to hear that, because then I can make better stuff.
Same for me too, you know?
So I'd say, you know, take time to flesh out what you're doing, but listen to what everybody has to say, because everybody put a comment there because they want someone to see it.
Right. I mean, I would appreciate it. Like, I did my last commentary. The Elite Casual Gamer did a one-shot on it. And you know what? I congratulated him for having the balls to tell me that I did something stupid. You know what? Looking back on that, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have cut out the parts that were relevant to the commentary, and maybe my decision was a little bit flawed, but, you know, I'll learn from that and move on next time. It's not about, like, it's not that I didn't need to change my style, but, like, you know, he told me in his own way that he felt there were problems, and I want people to do that to me and to other people who, you know, I mean, I've been getting comments like this recently, and yeah, I have defended myself because, you know, I wanted to show them my position on the issue and why I thought that was the right thing. But if they have the balls to come to me, I respect them for that, because they're telling me, hey, I feel that you can do better than this. So anything, you know, if they say they hated it, fine, just tell me why. You know, not I hate it because I hate it. It's I hate it because of A, B, C, D, and E. And I'm fine. I'll say fine, okay. I'll take that into consideration. It's not like it's not like we're like distant people from the distant future who don't know anything about, you know, improving. It's just we're all human, and we need to focus on, you know, improving ourselves so we can entertain. That's the long and short of it. So I can respect any criticism, even as what we're doing right now. I'm sure she can respect it too. And that's what I like.
Maybe. I don't know. I kind of dissed on her.
Well, I mean, I did talk to her in a previous chat, and she did seem pretty chill. So I'm sure she'll be chill about all this. She'll just be like, this person's crazy, and then you'll be like, ugh. But I mean, I'm sure she'll take everything into consideration. I don't think she'll be like overreactive.
Hopefully. All right. So I feel like we've discussed this. Do you have a next point?
A next topic of interest?
Yeah.
Well, this actually ties into what we were talking about. The topic that we both discussed is like you being upset about telling other people about how their content's crap.
And let me first say, I don't think Lady Objection's content is crap.
Me neither. She's the exact opposite.
Yeah. We were talking about if someone, like, they'll show you something and you're afraid to just flat out tell them it's shit. Mm-hmm. And I think this comes from, like, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but I want them to improve. And
same here.
You can't, and the thing is, if you want them to improve, you have to tell them in a nice way. And I don't know how to say that. So I think what we should do is create a phrase or a word or something that people can learn and memorize and understand. And if they're ever put in a situation where someone's like, here's my YouTube channel, do you want to subscribe? And you could just say this one phrase and they can be like, okay. Instead of being like insulted or feel like they're belittled or even agitated. Like, I don't want that to be expressed. I want it to be understood that they need to work on their content, and that if they have a problem with that, that's not the fault of the person critiquing it. That's just their opinion. And I can't come up with that phrase.
Yeah, it's just like,
It's a very intangible phrase. It's hard to understand, but I mean, when I do commentaries, when I keep writing the script, I always tell myself, my God, you are such a critical bastard. And looking back, it's like, yeah, I feel like a douche, but what makes me feel better is when the people who I commentate on see it and they go, oh, wow, I must have done something stupid. I appreciate what you've done. And I feel happy. I feel happy because the person who responded to me is someone who would listen to what I have to say. You know, even if I was like, you know, ginger about it. But, you know, some people don't respond to ginger stuff. Some people respond to pure and simple honesty. And, you know, that's kind of how my format goes. I try to be honest.
But we need it. There needs to be a phrase for the commentary community that can just very quickly tell them exactly how you're feeling. And I don't mean, and it needs to be like a blanket term, something that could just be like said to everybody. People that can take very, very harsh, like, you suck. And other people that need, like, you need to focus on A. You know, like what example?
You need to reevaluate or something like that.
I think that should be a point of interest for next podcast show, because
the phrase,
if we can come up with a good way to phrase it, or if just we could come up with a ridiculous term for something, like just some stupid word, it'd be good. Because then if people knew that, they could be like, just look at this podcast they made. That'll explain how I'm feeling.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Okay.
I mean, I understand what you're getting at with that.
Okay, so should I go on with my next point of interest?
All right, sure. I'm just worried about how long this is going to fucking be.
Don't worry about it. The cool thing about podcasts is if they're going to download it, they can listen to it and pick up later. And if we put one of these out a week, then they're going to have a long time to listen to it.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about Max.
And we don't mean MaxiPad, we mean the former Kamikaze Master.
I don't think they know MaxiPad. We're not talking about fucking in my sleep, Max. We're talking about his new account.
Kamikaze Master's his previous account, and yeah, even though he will hate us for saying this, yes, his new account is with an E.
Oh, should we just bleep it out? We'll bleep it out if he doesn't want us.
Yeah, his new account is anyway.
So,
yeah, bleep it out. Postscript.
Fun thing. Okay, I like Max. He seems like an okay person, but I think he is being very, very egotistical as of recent. And I don't know why, but if I look at any of his content, I immediately want to X out of it, because it became from like, here is what we're talking about to here is me and how I am. Like, I can't express it in any other way, but like, he'll take something that's not about him and make it into him. If that makes sense.
I guess.
If I'm on Skype and we're talking about someone, or we are making if we're like dissing someone, like a joke, like we did something with Hayden, everyone was afraid to add him into the call because we were afraid that he would completely change it and try and make it about him, or try and make it so that he's the only person that's involved with it. So it's about himself.
Yeah, I mean, here's the gist about everything. I knew Max back when he was Kamikaze Master, and he's a really nice guy. I really respect him as a person.
Yeah, he's a cool
He's really nice when he wants to be, you know? I mean, he asked me for help with one of his first commentaries, and I gave him the help, and he credited me, and he always talked to me. We had like an hour-long conversation about women's rights, and it was amazing, and I loved that. But there was, at some point, when he first joined, you know, Skype and everything, when he first joined it, you know, he changed. Like, he exposed himself to James, he exposed himself to Adam, he exposed himself to other commentators, and he went down the sarcastic route. And that's not to say it's a bad thing, but I think he went completely over the top and out of control. Especially with the whole, he joined around the same time as the Joshua Ariana drama, and then he developed this very fervent hatred for her. Now, don't get me wrong, Ariana's very annoying, but he went to the point where one time he showed me a chat with her, and he was so angry. Now, I'm not trying to, say that I'm weak about this, but when I read this, I was like, these are words of fire. It felt so acidic. I felt like my skin was burning. That's how bad it was. And this is not the Max that I knew. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe I should confront him about it. But every time that I felt I was trying to confront him about it, he seemed distant. He didn't want to talk about it. And even if I did, he'd probably insult me for something. Like one time, he left a status that said that DJ SJ was retarded and he thinks the community is retarded, and he left the community for the right reasons, the commentary community. So I say, call me O tits, and he's like, oh, are you referring to the status? Well, I think they're all retarded. And I'm like, well, doesn't that include me then, because you generalize the whole community? He's like, no. Don't even take that the wrong way. I'm like, okay, but just to be clear, the world doesn't revolve around you. And, like, he's a nice guy when he wants to be, but, like, at the same time, if I came up to him and confronted him about anything, I feel he'd overreact and get angry about it. And that made me feel, like, frustrated and like, it really, like, dissuaded me to talk to him about things. And that sort of mentality, like, just does not bridge communication. And I feel that if I ever confronted him about anything, like, he did an OSC on me too. He did a one-shot on me, and he was very harsh. And I was like, damn. But I took that in stride, and I discussed with him about this, and we discussed it on YouTube, like normal people, like mature people. And he said he has the proclivity to debate, and I'm like, that's fine. I love debating. But if he's ever in the wrong, okay, if I confronted him about it, I'd more than likely guess he'd overreact, and then he's like, wow, you're just like everyone else, and blah, 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 and why are you telling me about this? And he'd be like, okay. And it's like, why such a dismissive attitude? As somewhere down the road, he just changed, and I don't know about you, but I think he's being over the top and smug for the wrong reasons, just so he can emulate other people that he finds as smug and over the top. And I feel that's not him. That's not who he is. That's why I don't like his new attitude adjustment, especially with his new account. I've seen one of the videos, and it's like, are you trying? I think you're trying too hard.
I think he's gotten to the point where he is so complacent in where he's at. Any critiques he would get would be chalked up to like, oh, someone's just jealous.
Or he'd just dismiss it because he thinks that it would be just extraneous to his situation.
Yeah. And it's kind of insulting. I don't know how to look at it.
I mean, let's be honest. Like I said, I've known him longer than you, like Flippy, so I know that he went through a change. It was very subtle, but he went through a change. I guess it was to like form the mold of the community. Now, when he made commentaries, they were very, very, very acerbic. He even attacked like Paul K. Dragon Master and Steven the Master for their Christmas videos, and a bunch of people retaliated. And I defended him on the grounds that yeah, he can commentate on it, but like the style that he made was just very honest and hard-headed, and I felt there was a little bit of a problem there, considering that it felt fake. If he was honest about this, it would have had some resonance with me, but I didn't feel that resonance because it felt fake to me. Like it felt like he's trying too hard to attract too many people and impress everyone, and that's why people that's why he has friends on here, because people know that he's trying to be funny, and they respect that. But I feel he's trying too hard to be funny, and that's what kind of deters me from talking to him. Now, he talks to me on here, and I definitely will respond, because I still respect him as a person. But what I don't respect is the identity that he created over the course of time that he's been on here, and then leaving the community on the grounds that he thinks he knew everything, and just saying that I'm awesome, and I'm cool, and everyone's shit, and I'm just going to leave because I think everyone's shit. Now, he left without any fanfare, but he left a long bulletin saying how the commentary community is complete and utter crap, and that he doesn't like anyone, and that he thinks everyone's retarded. And then he puts another bulletin saying, it's been a week that I've quit. Everything has changed. No, the commentary community shouldn't be that retarded to realize that. And I'm like, you're emphasizing that you left? Are you really that self-ingratiating?
I'll see him, I initially, when I met him, he seemed really nice.
Yeah, totally.
And I don't doubt that he is a really cool person.
He definitely is. I swear to God, he definitely is.
No, I've talked to him on Skype. He's he's most of the time a really, really nice person.
Mm-hmm.
But he'll put on this facade when he makes a video.
Absolutely.
And I think he's becoming that facade. And I don't want to say that sounds very,
bleak?
No, it sounds almost too gaudy. Like, oh, he's becoming this, that's not what I'm saying. I'm thinking maybe that's how he is, and now he's not afraid to show it. Maybe. But he'll say something just to be mean. Not to contribute an idea, not to try and change an opinion, but just because he wants to be mean. At least that's how I see it.
Yeah, he wants to be deliberately offensive.
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't feel like it's part of a joke. It feels like he's just like, fuck you, I'm funny. And that's not how, I don't like that kind of humor. And he did a video about this guy talking about dice for some game, right?
Yeah.
He's like, this is an 8-sided die. I like it because it's my favorite color, and the insets on it are cool, and it's lucky for me. And he's like, oh, if you had a 27,000-sided die, and you're like, you're acting rude just to be rude. And I don't think that's funny. I think it's rude.
Yeah, I think it's just not humorous at all. I've seen some of his videos on that account, and I know he's trying to emulate the whole Retupre idea where it's just, let's commentator just riff anything that seems out of place, but when you're really desperate to find things that are out of place and just say things about it, then it ruins the moment for me, because then it's this is just a trivial matter. It's like if I did a riff on someone doing a vlog in the park, and they're walking past the park, and they say, oh, these are the sycamore trees. I'm like, yeah, the sycamore trees are so gay, why are you talking about them? Yeah. It's like, is that anything relevant or substantive to the video? No, it's just me insulting you because you like trees. That doesn't make any shred of sense to me. That's how I feel it is. And it's been very difficult for me to talk to Max about this because I'm afraid that if I did ever tell him about this, he would go apeshit at me, or at least just try to, go at me or start an argument. Because I've had these feelings for a while. I even told Max one time he was smug. Then I took it back because I thought, because he was being nice to me about it, but he's trying to be smug for the sake of being smug, and it's really not appreciated, from my perspective anyway. I mean, if I talked to him on a one-on-one conversation, it would be fine, but then he just randomly ignores people, too. When he's in a conversation, if he's in a conversation with 3 or 4 people, he'll act funny, and then he just leaves randomly, just because he feels there's nothing better to do, and then he spams his music, too. And then that's kind of douchey in that respect as well, considering that he just doesn't care. It's one of those aspects that's just he just doesn't care about what other people think or do, and he can insult for the sake of insulting. And if you criticize that, then he'll be like, why can't I insult other people? And that's just such a double standard. I don't know. That's just what I think anyway.
I've gotten to the point where I'm starting to lose hope that he's gonna change. And he's gonna be he'll say I'll see a glimpse of sincerity.
Mm-hmm.
I'll see he'll say something that's just well, I feel this way because that's what I like to see. And it's almost immediately drowned out by what he puts out there. That's just, haha, fuck you, you're an idiot. And it's that's not gonna change anybody's mind. That's infantile.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think that in the tone of his voice and just the tone of everything just rubs me the wrong way. That's the long and short of it. That's how you can condense it. It's just it rubs me the wrong way.
All right. So do you have another topic point, or should I go to my next one?
Referring to my list here, you can go on to your next point, sure.
Okay. I wrote this down. It was the first thing I wrote down. And it kind of ties into what we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote personas versus reality. I've reached a very awkward point. I used to make like video game videos. I don't want to say machinima because I don't like that. Oh, lordy, sorry. My mic fell.
Uh-oh.
Clock fell. But the point is,
Earape.
I'm afraid it's ticking. Hold on. Okay, it's ticking, but it's not going to go off. I'm afraid that I've reached a point where I'll look at something I make and I'll see myself. And it's not like I'm looking at myself. It's like I'm someone else looking at, I don't want to say me, but at what I've produced. And it's not mentally who I am. It's what I've put out. But the odd thing is what I've put out is, it's not like I'm putting on a facade. It's not like it's like a persona I made. It's me, but I'm looking at it as though it's not who I wanted to be or who I think I am. If that makes any sense.
I guess.
And I'm like, I'll look at it and I'll be like, this is not who I think I am. But in the same sense, it is me. And maybe I'm realizing who I am because of this, that who I think I am and who I want to portray as who I am is not actually me. And what I'm putting out is actually me. And I have to accept that. And it's very terrifying.
Yeah, I completely agree with this. It's like I have a split personality. One is just the real life me who's kind and gentle and somewhat honest, whereas on the internet I'm like ruthless and just condescending and just very honest and very blunt and to the point. And I feel I'm molding myself into that sort of person, and it's like, it is very scary to see myself change. I've been on here a long time, and I've noticed that I've changed ever since 2007. I was always reserved and everything. Now I'm more social, and I'm more apt to debate about things, and I'm more apt to argue about things. And it's like, I'm more cognitively able to reason, but it comes at a price. Like, I become less sympathetic to other people's, like, ideas, less sympathetic to, like, what other people's problems because they seem trivial to me. And I feel it's a very sad mentality to have because it's like, I shouldn't be this way. I should listen to what everyone says. And I still listen to what everyone says. There's just that voice in the back of my head that says, wow, this person is bitching over nothing. And I never say that in real life because I never would want to. But that voice in the back of my head is what I, like, established myself since 2009 when I began commentating. And that image has been with me since 2010 when I started commentating again. And it's I don't know if it's an asymmetry or if it's just a different me that I want to be in a way. But it's like this asymmetry is starting to become asymmetry, and it's just kind of strange how I've changed over the years in terms of just forming a persona like this. And I don't know if that 100% reflects me too.
I don't feel like I'm changing. I feel like what I'm putting out there is who I am, and I'm realizing that I am not who I am. that I'm different than what I thought I was.
Sort of like an existential crisis.
No. Like cognitive dissonance. Like I'm afraid of putting myself out there, but when I do, it's not who I am. But it is what I am because I went out of my way to make sure it was who I am. So what I'm putting out there is me, but I'm afraid that is exactly who I am, and it's not what I thought I was.
Yeah,
it sounds so weird to, like, articulate it, but like, that's exactly how I feel.
You're pointing out the identity of the true self, but you don't know if it's your true self, and you don't know if you want to portray yourself as your true self.
No, I want to be who I am. I want to portray who I am.
Yeah.
And I don't want to, like, dull it. I want to be sharp and exact and honest. And I look at what I do that is honest and sincere and I don't want to say sincere, I'm saying that too much. But the idea is I'm putting out exactly who I am, and I'll look at it and I'll be like, that's not who I think I am. And it's weird because I know it is exactly who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's going on. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, for me, it's just for me, it's not a question of who I am. It's a question of me changing to form a new identity, and I don't know if this new identity is who I really want to be, because I seem very critical. I seem more acerbic. I seem more prone to make, honest comments that most people won't want to say, and I don't know if that's helpful in that respect. So, I mean, just for me, it's like a bit of an issue with me, and I don't know if that's who I really want to be, but it's a matter of change, and a matter of, like, if I don't know who I really am, and yet I know who I am anyway, it's more a matter of, holy crap, this is what I really am online. So it's like, will it transfer to the real world to the extent where I start just criticizing everything? So, like, that's always been, like, a worry in the back of my head. But, like, I know for a fact I can control it, and I can be more sympathetic, just that sometimes I just can't be. But, I mean, that's just my main problem. The idea of just changing what makes my personality. So I'm more prone to just argue in a way sometimes, and that's not really a positive quality.
I'd like to, I want to make sure, and I want to put this out there, if I start becoming something that people are concerned about, I don't want to say that. That sounds like it's put too gaudy, to like less art or substance, to quote Hamlet.
Yeah.
I want if people see this kind of feeling in me, like if I'm doing something and people are like, that's not who I think you are, I want them to tell me. And if I'm doing something stupid, I want people to tell me. And if I'm doing something that people disagree with, I want them to tell me.
Yeah, it all goes back to people being honest with us,
Do not, I can't come up with a good word, but don't, like, take what you're going to say and then try and form it in a way that would make it acceptable. Say what you want to say.
Yeah, don't dilute what you say.
Don't be afraid to say it, because at least I know with Ben and I, we'll take whatever you want to say exactly how you say it.
Absolutely. If you say my personality is like, this isn't you, this isn't what you are, then I'll be like, okay, I'll have a reality check, and I want that reality check. That's what I strive for. If I'm doing something wrong, please say that I'm doing the wrong thing. That's what I want to do. Like, the thing that you guys feel, in a way, is just something that you feel should be reflective of me, not reflective of an identity that is deleterious to my personality and in effect can destroy me from the inside out. I don't want that. Nobody wants that. And I feel that can be easily avoided if the proper intervention is taken place, which is in the form of criticism or in the form of just someone saying, you're doing this wrong, and that's all there is to it. So get to changing, or try to revert back to a previous set of rules that you used beforehand, or maybe you should tone down a little bit. And I will take that to heart, and I will take that into consideration. I don't ignore things like this. Neither does Flippy. I'm sure he listens to anything you would have to say.
Yep. So ultimately, everybody, we're pretty open people. If you have any sort of critiques or comments, make them vocal. I guess that's partially why I joined the commentary community. I want to make sure if I see something in people that they can see it in themselves too.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I guess that's all I really have to say. I am out of agenda topics.
Me too.
So should we end our podcast here?
Yeah, I guess we should end it here. We've gone through a whole bunch of stuff at this point. I feel, I'm sure that'll be more than enough for people to digest.
Yep. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, send them should we send it to our email or this is gonna be on a YouTube channel called Veritas Podcast.
Veritas Podcast.
Veritas. We just came up with that word. Come on.
Come on, man.
And you can send them there. For the first couple episodes, we're gonna put them up on Youngblood's channel just so they can get some, you can get an audience, so they can get the word out.
And it will accommodate like the long video length, considering that I have been approved for more than 15 minutes worth of video time. So they'll let it slide.
Okay, we've kind of discussed this. We're gonna put up kind of a trailer thing, stuff we're gonna talk about. The whole podcast is gonna be up on do you want to pronounce it for me?
Veritas
Podcast. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, send it to veritaspodcast@gmail.com.
Yes.
Any last words?
Well, all I gotta say is, guys, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening to our somewhat inchoate babbling, maybe even some personal epiphanies we've discovered throughout the course of this podcast. And this has been Youngblood Fantasy 91. And ladies and gentlemen, I'll see you all on the brighter later.
My last words are mailbox, water, magenta, and viscosity. Bye.